A little bit off.
Okay, do you want to
I'm just
see
gonna
how the stream looks like?
more. I didn't know that we were gonna be streaming.
Huh?
Hey, I don't mind though.
I told you, didn't I?
I don't.
I said, do you want to talk on stream or something like this?
Oh, I thought you meant voice chat.
Ah.
But no, I'm down. I need a freaking break from recording, dude. Oh my gosh, if I could get this damn song out of my freaking head, it'd be fantastic. I'm sick of thinking of it like every day.
You're working on the anime opening constantly, or what?
Yeah.
I mean, what you have turned out amazing. So, yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, the very first time I listened to it, I was like, damn, this sounds exactly like an anime opening, like how I would imagine it. And I really got this feeling, man, damn, Alex is so good. I could never do this. So I was really impressed.
I need.
Okay,
It needs some milk. It needs some milk.
how do we want to call the stream? I have one topic I would like to talk to you about.
Sure. Sounds good.
I mean, I would call it just random stream. That's it. Don't have to
Might as well.
overthink it.
Do you want me to close that curtain?
No.
Okay. Because I'm still gonna get this. This light is still gonna be on the side of my face.
I mean, I think it looks good.
Okay. If you think so.
Yeah.
Let me just frame myself a little bit of headroom there. Get this guy a little bit lower. Yay.
Okay. Okay. I'm thinking about, should we have music in the back?
Yes, anime theme songs.
Okay.
Speaking of
Yeah.
speaking of music, once Doug and I are done with this song,
Yeah.
we really want to get back to that one that we
Oh.
were all working on. It like I listened to it the other day and I thought there's no way that this song could just be abandoned. There's no way, it sounds too good.
Yeah. I was in this phase of, okay, I don't know what to do. I
Yeah.
felt like, okay, what could I add to this? And I didn't know. So, and I didn't want, I was
The next theme.
yeah, probably, but I was in this phase of, okay, I know I want to do something, or I have the feeling I need to do something. But on the other hand, I didn't want to force myself to do something. So I had this little, let's say, conundrum. And so I just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
Doug and I ended up having something similar to the same problem. We were shooting chords back and forth, like trying to figure out what the next theme should be.
Oh, okay.
And we never settled on anything. I think we wanted you to be involved as well, so we just kind of put it on the back burner.
Yeah.
And then this project magically appeared.
I would definitely.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
anime music, I can do that. Oh yeah.
Yeah. We are live now, so maybe you shouldn't talk about it.
That's fine.
You think so?
Well, hello.
Hello. Yeah, welcome. Oh, I think we have one person who watches right now. Welcome.
That might be me.
No, their YouTube shows it shows 3 people, 3 viewers. So
Oh,
it's you, me, and person number X. Person X. We don't know who it is. So, yeah, what I wanted to talk to you about is sub-personalities.
sure.
So, yeah, I was thinking about the shadow and what the shadow is and how to integrate your shadow. And, I was researching, and that means I was just looking at YouTube videos. But,
Did you check out the Uber boyo?
hey, Psycho. Uber?
It's psycho, mate. Uber boyo.
Uber, what's that?
He goes over a lot of Carl Jung.
Ah, so it's a
He
YouTuber.
also had. Yes.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, dude. I'll need to send you a link eventually.
Okay, send me a link eventually. So, yeah, the interesting thing is, so when you would like to look into what is the shadow as, one of the degenerates that we are, the first thing we look is for a John Peterson clip, right?
Yeah.
So, interestingly enough, I didn't find anything where John Peterson tells you explicitly how to integrate your shadow. What's up, Stanton? So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. So I looked at other videos and tried to, figure out myself what is the shadow. And I think the best explanation I got was, now imagine there is like all the things that you dislike when you look at yourself. All these things that you get told by society or your parents, oh, that is bad behavior. Oh, this is not good. You're out of line. All these things that you then suppress, they get all these things together become like the shadow. It's like this sub-personality of you that is all the things that you dislike when you look at yourself. All these things combined. And basically all the things that you reject from yourself.
Would that be including basic human nature that's been trained out of you through socialization, parental guidance,
I
things
think
along those lines?
I think so. Yes. So if there's like aggressive behavior,
that's why
that's where you are. You mean like this is like your definition, or this is where you are at in your development, or both?
Oh no, definitionally.
Okay. Yeah. So.
And I was also hoping that I could figure if that's also what you considered as well, rather than just what you brought up.
So you have so you have like aggression, and I think I would describe it as the drive to destruction. You know what I mean by that? So this feeling of, when you're really angry, or when you're really resentful, and you have these fantasies of, oh, I will destroy this, or I will kill that person, or whatever. So there's something inside of you that drives you to these things, or to have these fantasies. So there's something innate. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Okay.
Innate.
So, and obviously these are things that when you as a child manifest these behaviors, you get punished for it. So if you never really learn to integrate your aggression, it becomes always this part of you that you reject, because you will be rejected if you manifest that behavior. So in my case, it was okay, if I'm manifesting aggression, I will be rejected from the person that I need to be loved from. You know what I mean? So when I would be aggressive, there was no really, my mother always told me these stories about how I was like a terrible child when I was little, and how aggressive I was, and how she never saw somebody look so evil and all this stuff. So all this,
oh my lord,
all these, being aggressive or getting worked up about something became something that I rejected. So this became part of my shadow. You know what I mean? So because I was wondering, I thought about it. Okay, there are all these stories about how aggressive I was when I was like a toddler, but then this all magically went away. So where did it went? And why am I not getting angry? So I had to, think about that. And then I found like a big pile of rage. And I had to confront that. But the funny part about that is that you can't be enraged all the time. So you have to start talking or interacting with these parts of yourself, with your shadow. And that is where I'm at, basically. So I wanted to talk to you about how do you think, or what is your experience, how to get in touch with your sub-personalities, how to interact with them. Because one little thing is, I want to add is, there's this path that I think many people go down, and it's the path of true feelings. And what I mean by that is, they are always in search for what is the true me, what is my true feelings. And when you are constantly looking at yourself, oh, what's my true feelings? And the sub-personalities inside of you will manifest, and they will say, oh, we want this. So then you say, oh, this is my true feeling now. You identify with that feeling, with that sub-personality, and make this your reality. You don't engage with it. You don't ask yourself, okay, this is one part of me, and this wants this. Maybe there are other parts. Let's discuss this. You don't get inside of you and talk to all these different, let's say, entities inside of you. But instead, you just identify with that sub-personality. Oh, this is my true feeling. This is me now. And then a week later it changes, because then something else takes over you, and you're like, oh, this is my true feelings now. And so just accepting the feeling and saying, oh, this is me now, I have to go down that road now, that doesn't work. So how do you get in, how do you do it reasonably? You don't want to, suppress your emotions, right? But you don't want to just follow them.
Yeah. What you first brought up with, like, there's a sub-personality in...
Damn, my PC is...
with, and that reminds me of... Uh-oh, I see it.
You see it?
I see it on the stream.
Damn.
No.
Fuck. Come on. Pray. Nice little red.
He's the good boy. All right, buddy.
Okay.
You're the good boy. You want to go home?
The stream is a little bit lagging, right? So...
Yes.
Okay.
It's like back to normal now.
Is it?
After rat time.
Okay, put up the rat again. Shit. I don't really know what to do.
The healing power of rats.
Oh yeah. I think the only thing I can do right now is
That's-
just hope that the error message is going away. I just hope. We can only hope. Let's pray to the YouTube God. Okay, mm, yeah, we just have to go on. So what what is your opinion?
Well, I did want to say that when you were talking about when searching for what is my true self, what are my true feelings, I imagine is what you were going for. Um, Paul Vanderklay comes to mind, and I imagine he gets this from John Vervaeke, is the idea of the consciousness congress.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer the question before that, insofar as oh nuts, I forgot the question, but I remember the answer.
Just tell the answer.
And the answer is intentional observation of yourself, not just flying by the seat of your pants and saying this is the nature of reality, but
Mm,
really observing yourself and being like, okay, I'm like really angry right now. Well,
yeah.
why am I so angry? And then you can pull out all that. You can pull up things from your past. You can
Yeah.
consider all kinds of things going on there. I
And
mean,
then you ask yourself,
subpersonality.
is that true? I think that's the key, right?
Yeah,
You ask, okay, I'm in
yeah,
rage, and this is the reason why, and then you ask, okay, is that true, 100%? So you don't just take it as your truth, but you
yeah,
don't
not
ignore it
yeah.
either.
Try trying to step outside yourself, and I mean, because yeah,
But
I
how
mean,
do you
just
do it?
that's all I got. Stepping out of yourself
Yeah, how do you do it? I mean,
with
this is like,
humility.
huh?
I hate to say it, but in my case, THC helps a lot.
uh,
It helps a lot for me, and I'm serious about that. I don't do Delta 9 because Delta 9 makes me panic.
but
Also, still a controlled substance in New Jersey, I think. But
what was
the Delta 8 stuff.
what was the word you said before THC? I thought you said it sounded to me as you said humility, but maybe you said something else.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, the
yeah. There needs to be an element of ego death.
hmm.
You need to bypass your ego a,
That's
a
interesting
good bit
because
in order to see the nature of reality.
that's exactly what I thought, and what helped me is the idea. Okay, and I saw in this
See,
idea
I
that
see the rats found a new toy.
huh? What did you say?
No, I doubt it came through on my microphone, but the rat ran up the stairs of the cage with a really loud toy in its mouth, and I said, "Well, I see the rat has found a new toy." They like loud toys. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So you know what I found these. Oh, Gabriel says, I bet once upon a time they called awareness outside yourself relationship with God. That's interesting because I wanted to bring it to
Ooh.
religious symbolism. When you said humility, one thing I realize is that I look at I look at it like this. So you have the ego, right? So if you this idea of who you are, this person, this personality, and this person is created by the identification with the story in your mind that you tell yourself. You say, I'm this, and this happened to me,
Mhm.
and this made me be this. And basically, what you're doing is all the experience that you have gets woven in a narrative, and you identify with that narrative.
Yes.
And then you say, oh, this is me. Now, what happens is when you
Yeah, because stories
sacrifice
are the
that,
best way to be able to compress information.
yeah, but when you sacrifice the I, the ego, the idea of who you are to something greater, then you, what is it, when you put something under something, like um, what is the word? Subordinates? Nine. Um, I don't get.
I don't know.
I can't find the English word, but it doesn't matter. So what you're basically doing is you say there is something that is more important than my story. There's something that has has more value than what I'm wanting right now, what I'm feeling right now. So this idea of I am this, I want
Mm.
this, and I'm disappointed because of this, when you, let's say, bow down to something that you view as greater than yourself, you can let that go.
Yeah.
You can, this is my my idea of the self-sacrifice. You're sacrificing yourself, like the ego, the idea of who you are. And yeah, that only, I think, is you are able only then you have this, humility, when you put something greater above you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've noticed that in subversive, and I don't mean that in the negative connotation. I mean subversive as in not militant forms of religion that have lasted quite a while tend to have that being an integral part of them.
Hmm.
And I mean it's no wonder. We just be in endless wars, and I mean nobody would. Oh my gosh, it'd be a mess if we were all just constantly focused on pleasing our egos. I mean, take a look. I, I don't know if it's the best example, but say take a look at some place like, oh man, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. George Floyd Square,
Mm-hmm.
or the Capitol Hill Autonomous Stolen Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's what happens when it's all ego. Like they come in and we are already the kinder people, but we must have our way, and we will take it by force, and none of your rules apply here. And then a bunch of murders happen, and there's no element of humility in there. There's no I could possibly be wrong
Yeah.
happening, and they don't build. All they do is destroy. They steal. They burn. I mean, there's certainly a time for destruction and burning, but not when it's already something that's 90% functional. You don't do that. Um, but I digress from that point. But I do think that that's a good example of what happens when people are led by their egos. They're easily led by ideologies as well, because there's just this constant positive feedback loop of yes, you are right.
Mm.
By being a terrible person, you are a good person. Smoke and mirrors. There's no humility in it.
Humility.
There's none. It's just I am right. That's it. And just imagine if the rest of society went that way. It's terrible. And this is something that I really appreciate about successful subversive religions.
Yeah.
And again, I don't mean that the word subversive within a
I think,
negative connotation. I'm
yeah.
sure I could find a better
I mean,
word
what I add
for
to
it
that
later.
is I think the core of all of that is, yeah, I think what is so um, pathologizing, maybe that's the word, um, in this new woke religion, or how do you want to call it, this um, identity movement, is
It's certainly a
the
fledgling religion.
it's the
It has
identity
all the
aspect.
telltale signs of it, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I mean, what the big problem I
Mm-hmm.
think is the identity. So what you call, oh, this is this, they have no humility and it's all about the ego and stroking others ego.
Yeah.
That is all based on, oh, this is my identity, this is me, and this is my truth. It's always about, this is how I
Mm-hmm.
feel, this is my personal experience, and this is, I think that's a big problem. Um you can't evolve.
And there's usually two ways that I've seen people go whenever they're confronted with somebody with a considerably harsher lived experience than them. They either believe that they're lying. Oh, for example, say somebody like somebody who escaped from North Korea,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll say, "Oh no, it's all propaganda. You're just lying," or they'll actually be humbled by it and they'll rethink their things and be like, "Maybe wokeness is not the best thing."
Hmm.
And I don't want to focus primarily on
Yeah.
wokeness. I'm just using that as an example. This is what happens when you have. Ugh, I don't even know what to call it. Because I'm trying to think of some breakdown and strange collaboration between groupthink and individualism, but it's only like the worst parts of your
Yeah, I
individuality
mean,
that
it's
you hold on
the
to, and
group
not your own
identity, is it?
thoughts. It's very strange.
I mean, isn't it, you can
Yeah,
just say
and I
it's group
wonder,
identity. It's like, okay, I am this group and this is my identity. So,
how much of that ties into some bit of a person's subconscious saying, "Hey, you do have problems, and you do want to get along with other people. Oh, this is a lot easier. They already agree with you just for hating things and hating yourself and all this. Just go along with it. You get that reward by listening to these people. Meanwhile, it's just like cocaine, 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 and then what happens afterwards?
hmm. So getting back
Yeah,
to
it's
the self-sacrifice idea, I butchered it a little bit, um, because I think I never thought about it in English. I only thought about it in German. So sometimes it's a little bit complicated to
excuse me.
translate the thoughts in my head. But I think what really got me was the idea of, you sacrifice yourself like Jesus style, and then
Mm-hmm.
as a result of that, you become one with God. And I think this is what happens internally.
Theosis.
It happens internally.
Is that the right word for theosis? What's that?
It happens. It's like,
Your audio cut out.
oh fuck. It happens internally. I mean, if you are able to
Oh, okay.
sacrifice your ego, yourself, the story in your head, you can.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this experience, and I think this helps to illustrate it. So I think I told you about that. I was walking. I was just, walking home from fitness training, muscle training, workout, and suddenly something happened to me. Like,
You cut out again then.
something happened. I suddenly could
Mm.
see things in a different way. So how I would describe it is, when
Yep.
you when you walk around, most of the time you are like in the world of your own thoughts, and you are only like looking straight ahead at some point. You're not really there. You're not really present. You're not really looking around. You're not really seeing the panorama, right? So you only are focused
Oh
on
yeah.
one thing, or you are only in your head, and you are focused on your thoughts. And when you see something, most of the time it makes you think about something else. So maybe you see something, and then a thought comes up, then a memory comes up, and so you are never really there. Imagine when you walk to your workplace or you drive, it's not the same as if you would really be present and look at the things, right? So I had
Yeah, and
this
there's
experience where suddenly I was present, and I saw the world with different eyes. And
yep,
at that moment I wasn't in my
with a higher
thought.
resolution, I would say.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes when I'm in that state,
And it's of course it's impossible to see things at the highest resolution as well. And that's something that gets me down. Um, I think about the overwhelming complexity of the world
yeah.
and how my the narrow slice that I view is just that. And that does come with its benefits, like you're saying, striving to see things in a higher resolution. But I take it entirely too far sometimes.
How so?
and I and I get really sad that it's impossible for me to see things in perfect clarity. But, I figure there's a certain level that's good enough, and that seems to be a standard that is higher than higher than what I see the idiots doing, and a little bit lower but striving towards people that I admire doing. That seems to be a comfortable place for me.
Have you taken mushrooms?
I don't know if you I don't know if there was a sentence behind that, but all I heard was mushrooms.
Oh, did I cut
Come
out?
on,
Did I
Sargon.
cut out again?
Come on, Sargon. Drugs are cool. Yeah.
Have you taken mushrooms?
Yes, but I've only had some that were introspective, the introspective type of psilocybin, and I didn't even know that I'd taken it. It was
Okay.
a thing, Colorado, but a couple times I've had the more party shroom kind of stuff, and I was not for that. It's just like, oh great, I feel wonderful. How long is this gonna last? 8 hours? No, no, I don't want to feel this good for that long. This doesn't make sense. So especially when my intention is to be introspective. Ah,
Okay, cause
I mean, of course, I don't want to ingest a substance and feel terrible, but
I thought maybe you can shed light on how it is, because I heard that it's basically that the filter that you have. It's like when I think sometimes you also have this when you smoke weed. It's like um when you smoke weed and suddenly you notice little noises, like little sounds, like you walk through whatever a park or something, and suddenly you hear all these little cracks, these little sounds. You know what I mean? In the
oh yeah,
bushes, and normally
yeah, yeah.
you wouldn't notice them, or your attention wouldn't be there. But there's something like a door open in your perception, and things flood in. And I heard this also happens when you take mushrooms, to a degree where you suddenly see
Mhm.
pattern around. And I had this through this, like meditation technique where I would walk through at night through the
Yeah.
city, and I would walk really slowly and tilt a little bit. And when I had this wide perception, I could see the whole
Mhm.
street around me, how it moved in relation to me. I mean, how I moved in relation to it, but um, there was this perception of the whole place that I'm in. So when I, in the time where I did this often, I also had moments where I just looked at a tree, and this I saw how amazing the tree was. This sounds so funny, but it seemed to me that I saw the pattern of the tree, like how the tree was, how it grew, the shape it has. It kind of.
Yeah, and it's rather interesting how much it correlates with our circulatory system as well.
Yeah.
The patterns tend to repeat. That yeah, I have different experiences. I think everybody has a considerably different experience under THC.
Hmm.
Um, just I will recognize other patterns. There's something about pattern recognition that fires up a little bit more.
So.
But I think for the majority, I am a hell of a lot more comfortable with thinking that I'm wrong about things. I mean, I don't just arbitrarily ingest THC. I mean, sure, sometimes I'm can't get myself to sleep, and hey, I've got some there, so get myself outside and get the sleepy mode going on. But whenever I intentionally do it, it it really is to be able to be a little bit more in that moment. And a lot of the times, what I try to focus on is exactly where I could be wrong about things. And it certainly helps me sort out a lot of my cognitive distortions. And it's a hell of a lot more relaxing to do it that way because you can finally see it, and it seems like it's fine.
I had similar experiences because sometimes, the interesting thing about drugs is that they get you into a specific state, if you want it or not. So sometimes it can help when you are stressed out, and you take something that calms you. You suddenly can look at what stressed you out with a little bit of distance, and then you might realize, oh, maybe I could be relaxed, and I wouldn't have to feel
Yeah,
the
well,
stress. So yeah, I had these situations where something stressed me out, and I smoked weed, and after that I was like, okay, hey, this ain't so bad at all. And after that, the effect was still there. So even without the THC, I was like, okay, I made the experience that this situation doesn't need to be this stressful. I had the moment where I saw it in a different light. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, it didn't change. Yeah, your audio for some reason sounds bad to me. It's probably a Discord thing again.
When's the last time you updated Discord? Because they've done a lot of updates. I know this is boring to
Yeah, but
have in a
we
live
had
stream,
this
but
before. You remember? And I think we just ended the call and started it again, and everything was fine. Um, so let's just do it for a second.
I I just remember the video crashing on YouTube.
Yeah, it happened often enough. Hello, utter nonsense. Also, Gabriel said, did shrooms multiple times, had one bad trip. Psychomate says, only shrooms I had were on pizza. Not that good, to be honest. Okay,
Oh, I've got shiitakes growing in the backyard. I should check up on them, actually.
nice. Can you bring it to the screen?
Hmm?
Your shiitake.
I haven't been watching the screen. I've only been watching the chat.
Okay. Okay, I would just end this call for a second. So, last time we did this and we had this problem. The stream. Oh no. Why is. What the fuck? So, last time I had to close Discord completely. You know, Discord is running in the back, and yeah, I don't want it to run in the back because the last time it wasn't enough to just close it while it was running in the back. So now it's closed. Now I have to start it again. So yeah, what I wanted to explain with all this psychedelic talk and meditation talk is, okay, sometimes through meditation I get to that state where I see things clearly without seeing it through the filter of my personality. So yeah, and that's a really amazing feeling, and there's a clarity. Alex, can you say something?
Quack.
Yes. Nice. Okay.
I couldn't think of anything clever, so meh.
So I think, let's see. Ah, you're back. Nice.
Huzzah.
Okay. So I
That's
was talking about the could you hear me? No, you couldn't hear me, right? So
No, I couldn't because the call ended.
Fuck.
Oh, and I muted the stream anyway because it's
Yeah.
like I don't even know how many seconds delayed. I guess 10 seconds.
Okay, it's bad again. Wait a second. I don't know why this happens. And I think it's only happening for me, so you guys should have no problem with it. Okay.
Scooby-Dooby-Dooby-Doo.
I think I would just have to live with this. If
It is unfortunate.
I mean, if no one else hears this crappy audio of yours, and for them it's fine, then I think that is all that matters. So please, guys, everybody that is watching and listening, how does Alex audio sound? If it sounds perfect, because I hear this bit crushing effect. This I can still understand him, but it's not very nice. But if you don't hear it, then that's fine with me.
If it's what you hear and you're streaming it from Discord, that's what it's gonna sound like for everybody.
I mean, you would imagine, but I think last time people told me it isn't like that.
Okay.
I can just unmute the stream.
That's what it's gonna sound like for everybody. As a side note, I know this is like boring stuff.
Oh my god! I think this is something weird that happens with my audio driver, because after I unmuted the stream and there was audio coming from the stream, suddenly your voice started sounding good again. So something really weird is happening.
Nice.
Gabriel Archangel says, "Wow, EC self-sacrificing his ears for our stream. Good example." Yeah, I think I have to finish this self-sacrificing bit for a second. So, my ideas. You have this idea of, okay, you self-sacrifice, you voluntarily sacrifice yourself, and this makes you this leads to you being reborn, and you become one with God. And how I imagine it is, God is like the greater potential of your being. It's like when you are in that state where you transcended yourself, then you are God in person. And
it's the highest of goals that you could consider, that you could ever conceive of.
I mean God.
Bucko.
I mean God in the sense that, I mean, basically, we create the world inside of our own head. It's like the way we perceive the world. It's like we create our own simulation of the world inside of our own head. And
I think it goes both ways, though, because there's just so much truth, there's so much data, there's so much input that you need to narrow it down and focus on it through lenses, because otherwise, I mean, our minds just aren't capable of comprehending it all. So we need to focus on it, and that's why I brought up that stories are a really good way to compress all that data into a memorable form.
Yeah, but I think the story that we tell ourselves, the personality that we create through interpreting our experience and creating this whole story out of it, I think that is, I mean, most people suffer their personality. I think their mental illness is their personality.
Yes.
So
yeah, I think 90% of the time that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and I think if you super identify with the story and all your issues that you have, all your feelings, then what you do is basically you impose a view on the world. You impose how you look at the world, how you perceive it, how you feel when you look at the world, how you interpret what you see. So you give these ideas of who you are, what your truth is, so much importance that it totally enables you to see the world how it really is most of the time. And if you, that's why that's why I came to this when you said humility. When you say, okay, when you stop giving yourself your version of how you interpret the world, if you stop giving that so much importance and you develop this humility, say, hey, and when you then sacrifice your person, yourself, your ego, then the opportunity to see the things more clearly, or maybe see the things how they really are, this opportunity arises. And you become one with the nature of reality. And that is the idea. You sacrifice yourself, your ego, and then you become one with God. And I think that's...
I'll say it again.
I think
that theosis.
Yes, and I think that is true, and I think that it works. And, I always disliked the idea of, when I saw Christians, how they are like, oh, I bow down to you, Jesus and God. And I thought, that looks so pathetic. That looks...
I was about to go there, but on a completely different angle.
Okay, wait a second.
I mean, it ties into it. Sure.
So I thought, oh man, that's so pathetic. I don't want to bow down to anybody. But I think it's
Mhm.
at the end of the day, to be able to transcend your person, you know, your self importance, you have to bow down to the the thing that is greater than you, to
Yep.
become greater, you know. So to become
The
one with God in this sense, you know, to get to your ultimate potential, you have to make your personality, your person, bow down, so you can become that to which you bow down to. You get it?
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, you have that standard set, and if it's not higher than yourself, what else is it gonna be?
Yeah. And how bad would it be if what you are now is the highest thing?
Yeah.
That would suck, man.
And I think that it's really weird because I definitely have a tendency of making the mistake that the rest of people think the same way that I do, and I'm shown that that is incorrect time and time again. Um,
What do you mean by that? Like you think they have the same information than you and they
this the
should.
same the same processes of running thought through and validation and things. It seems to me a lot more people are very much more led by emotional reasoning than I am. But also, like, I have all those sub processes stuck in the back of my head. Like, okay, you need to make sure this is not emotional reasoning. Okay, well, take care of the emotions. What emotions are you feeling? Why do you feel that way? Okay, well, this is why it is. Blah 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 blah. Okay, well, are you jumping to conclusions in any way?
Hmm.
Um, things along those lines. But it seems to me a lot of other people just do not go through that much scrutiny
Yeah.
in the way that they view the world and the way that they think. So
So
I do have that problem
how do
personally. I
how
forget
does
where I was going with
this affect you? Because I think this affected me in a way where I would be really judgmental. Like I would look at people and
that. Yes,
because I assume they should, you know, um, yeah, they should be like this introspective, reflective as I am, or they should have the same informations and they should come to the same conclusions, but they don't, so they must lack in character. They must be bad people.
I I took it a couple different ways.
Yeah.
I mean, my first reaction was not judgmental. It's mostly confusion. Like, I just don't understand how you can't see the world this way. I just don't understand. Um, yeah, it has come off as judgmental in a couple areas. Like, um, say I see a jackass driver driving erratically down the side of the road, and I think, oh well, I wish that he treated traffic the same way that I did because the way that I do is more conscientious of other people. This jackass doesn't realize that he could actually end somebody's life by driving that way, including his own.
Mm.
Like, so yeah, there's that judgment, but it's also justified judgment in that sense. But now, if I get myself too emotionally wrapped up in that, I mean, I'm not doing myself any favors. What's me being angry going to do to change his mind? It's not gonna do anything. Is it gonna change me? Is it gonna make me a better person? No, it's gonna make me miserable.
Yeah.
So, you just kinda gotta take it and run with it. But w I did want to, because I'm highly neurotic, I did want to emphasize the other end of, say, people bowing down and how pathetic it looks, because there is something that I do think you are picking up on that is pathetic, and it's because it's possible that a lot of these people are doing it for their ego's sake. They The best sign of when you are putting your ego behind you and it's progressive is it doesn't affect you as much anymore. Whereas I've noticed some people who will say sacrifice their egos for others, but it damages them. And why? It's because they're just letting people walk all over them. Meanwhile, they're building up all this resentment.
Mm.
It's not really the true form of what they need. It's not really. I don't think it's come to fulfillment in that case. I think you really need to be able to see things in a higher resolution in order to make that determination. And I see a lot of people who will sacrifice themselves for the sake of others, but why are they doing it? They're doing it so that they can feel good about themselves for the story that they tell themselves. They tell themselves a story that they are a sacrificial person for other people, and that's what makes them good. And then, of course, as soon as a wrench gets thrown in the gears, then they panic. And I can't believe I've given all this for everybody else, and all I get in return is being walked all over. Well, I don't think you handled it the right way in that
Hmm.
case. Not you in particular. I mean, you,
I mean, I did something like this, so.
I do as well, like, all the time. I've done that. Oh, there are plenty of times where I say, I can't believe I've given this much effort and I've gotten nothing out of return. And then I've got this little voice in the back of my head that brings up these things. It's like, well, you know, you're kind of avoiding a handful of other things that you didn't really do
I think there's
that really could have
something.
helped out the situation a little bit better.
I think something.
So it goes
Yeah.
right back to ego stroking.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's something funny happening because these people who self-sacrifice themselves for others, they're not really sacrificing their ego. They're just suppressing what they feel most of the time, and one part of their ego actually, has something, gets something out of being the great self-sacrificing person, right? You can feel good about yourself in a sense, saying to you, "Oh, look, I'm so self-sacrificing." It's like these spiritual people who build their ego on not having an ego. It's like, "Oh, I'm so egoless,"
Yeah.
and you,
They seem to, the worst ones are the most fragile people too.
yeah.
I know one of them. Name shall be unnamed, but yeah, I see it all over the place. I just figured religion was a really good. Wow, depends on how you define religion as well. Uh, Nuts. But yeah. So, would you agree with me, or do you have any? Do you agree with me, and do you have any better insights into what a proper ego sacrifice would result in? What does that look like on the outcome? How does that change somebody's behavior?
So what a
Oh,
proper ego death would look like, or a
okay.
self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
A self-sacrifice or an ego death?
Well, I mean, when the self-sacrifice is a sacrifice of ego. I'm ego death is probably considerably more traumatic than I can even, well, traumatic, but intense than I can even comprehend, because I don't think that I've ever really gone through an ego death except for hitting rock bottom one time when I was kind of like on a bed of suicide kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um but I'd like to stay away from that for now. Not
Okay.
because I have no problem talking about it, but it's
So,
such a long and in-depth thing to talk about. It'd be distracting.
um, how John Peterson describes the ego death as a journey to the underworld.
Mhm.
And I mean, I assume you did some journeys to the underworld besides being suicidal at one point or different points. Or wouldn't you
Yeah.
call it like that? So how he would describe it is like you are suddenly it's like the idea of okay, imagine you are in your house and suddenly there's a snake in the house, like a classic Peterson talking point. So there's suddenly a snake. So suddenly the whole situation you are in changes completely. Or maybe you are in a relationship with somebody and the other person has betrayed you. Suddenly the person is different. You see, oh, this person lied to me. It's a totally different person than I had expected, and it changed the whole past. It changed the present, and it changes the future. What you imagine the future to be. So your whole view of reality collapses, and then you are in chaos and potential because you don't know what the things are. So,
Yeah, it's like
and who you
that's the
are.
only thing that you have left is potential.
Yeah.
Like you've gone so far down that the only thing left is just a multitude of potential.
So I think that
And
is what he calls an ego death. Um,
mm, the way that a uh, PhD licensed clinical social worker explained it to me was considerably different than that, and I will not butcher what he said,
hmm,
but it was different.
okay. So now,
I can't even brush on it because I'll get it wrong, and I don't want to do him that disservice.
okay, how would I describe an ego death? I think when the whole theory of who you are, this whole idea of I am this is my identity, this is my story. When that story changes, I think that's basically what Peterson says. Oh, your whole story changes.
Mhm.
So when you
Sure.
identify with that story, you say, this is me and this is my life and this is my story. When this story suddenly, boom, is not anymore, and you don't know what is, what is my story? Who am I exactly? This is an
Mhm.
ego death. So your whole identity, your whole idea of who you are, what your life is, collapses. And then you have to figure out, who am I again? What am I? What is my story? And when I think that what normally happens is you start to tell yourself a new story, and then you have a new identity. And I think the idea of, let's say, the yogis and mystics in India is that what you should strive to is to abolish that identity, but then don't create another one. So you realize, oh, the story I was telling myself was false. But then you have the wider picture and realize, oh, everything I tell myself is just a story. And that is always the lens I'm looking at the world through. I'm looking
Mhm.
at the world. So why not just stay in reality? Why do I need to create a story? Why do I need to create an identity?
Because it's impossible not to.
That might be the
The
case, but
the
then this
world is
is
too
like,
complex. You need to.
maybe, but that means I'm choosing my illusion. And that's
Yes.
kind of weird when you realize it's an illusion, right? You get to the point,
Mhm.
well, I'm telling me this fake story about reality and create this fake narrative. I create this stories in my head about who am I, who other people are, who I'm in relationship to them and to the world. What is the world? Um, or what I would call, you create this idea of your relationship to God, to the nature of reality. Oftentimes we say stuff like, oh, the world treats me unfairly, or the world is bad, or whatever. We have we have this feeling of we are interacting with the with the world, and we give the world some character. We say, oh, this is like, I think we oftentimes see this when we get resentful. There's this feeling of that these things happened at all. You know, these things, these bad things that has happened to me are things that life has done to me. So now I'm angry at existence or at life
Yeah,
itself. So there's the idea of
it,
I'm in contact, I'm in a relationship with an entity that is, you know, all is the
it's
outside
attributing
world.
agency.
Huh? Yeah, and you give this thing agency. Say, oh, you are responsible for what happened to me. So now I can be a total shithead and, you know, be resentful and treat others badly because, yeah, now it's revenge time. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's this.
Can I
Huh?
can I just tell you exactly how fortunate I was to be such a dipshit idiot kid taking out my revenge on the nature of reality. And of course, it was because I did have a handful of agents that made my life considerably more miserable than it needed to be.
Yeah.
And miserable in the sense that it was care sometimes, hatred and animosity the rest of the time, which really messes things up. It would have been a lot easier if it was just pure hatred all the time.
Hmm.
That way I could have distanced myself. But I was very, very fortunate to be such an idiot that whenever I rebelled, it backfired on me badly.
Hmm.
So I had to readjust and think, okay, maybe I should go a little bit closer to whatever this Christianity thing is talking about. I should probably apply myself to those principles a little bit more. And that was certainly one of the greatest turning points in my life where I started to get my things together a lot better. And that certainly was a bit of an ego death. It was, I guess my way of doing things is not working out. So I need to find something better, something, okay, well, this religion claims that there's a higher being that is ultimately good. Okay, let's see if it makes sense that this person, that this agent or a renic entity or both is actually good.
Hmm.
And then I was convinced and I thought, okay, I'll do it that way. And that was absolutely life changing for me as a teenager.
Hmm. So you.
And I didn't end up killing myself after that.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. So you gave up. Is it the frame of reference, or it's you gave up
Yeah,
the way you looked at the world and the way you looked at yourself, and you established
yeah,
like a
my
new relationship to reality. Like, oh, this is now
yes.
how I define my relationship to reality. I don't define it as, you know, the outside world treats me bad and I make the outside world responsible and I hate the outside world. And outside
Mhm.
world in that sense or only means, you know, you have this inner this yourself, your inner world and the outside world, and you interact with the outside world. And when I say outside world, I mean what we do is we all the experiences or all the things that happen to us through interacting with the outside world, all these interactions, they get thrown together and are viewed as things that life does to me. So, you know, as I
Yeah.
said before, you have this entity, the outside world, or you can call it God or whatever, that you get
Mm.
resentful. And now you define your relationship to that outside world, to the nature of reality, to the universe or whatever. You defined
Yeah.
your relationship to God in a different way. And that was actually better
Yep.
for your mental health and for your life in general, I assume.
And it also in my case, it also meant that I needed to stop discounting positives of that. Like, if you're constantly focusing on the negatives of things,
Yeah.
of course you're going to think that it's against you.
Yeah.
Look at all these socialists thinking, "Oh, capitalism is so terrible." Well, they're only focusing on the negatives. It's like, "I'm sorry, honey,
Hmm.
but that's you're going to have corruption in any given system. 1, because entropy exists,
Hmm.
duh, and 2, because human nature.
Hmm.
You're always going to have that, so we need to be vigilant. And, oh, man, I'll get on a tirade if I keep going down that train of thought. But, yeah, like, this is what gets me about the anti-theists or the atheism plus people who still cannot digest what Jordan Peterson is talking about with the benefits
Hmm.
of religion. And it's like, at least Brett Weinstein seems like he's getting it,
Hmm.
but Sam Harris is just, "I have no idea what you're talking about. I just don't think that you're wrong because all the negatives." Well, if you're only focusing on the negatives, "Oh, well, the reason for the positives is actually because of the Enlightenment." No,
Hmm.
no, no, it's not. Like, you can't call a branch the tree. You can't.
I think
Like,
the problem is that you need to have it's not obvious to most people. And I think it's maybe most of the time, or, or let's say always, when you're born in a culture, you don't see the culture. You see
yeah,
culture when you go to a different place. Suddenly you see culture. But
yep,
when you're born in a culture,
yep.
you don't see it. You don't see the effects that culture has on the society. So let's say if the theory is these, let's say, religious pattern, these religious stories have influenced our culture in a very positive way,
Mm,
then this is something most people wouldn't be able to see. So
yeah,
how can you make people
yeah,
see? What people will see is if you have a bunch of weird Christians believing in weird, let's say, um, yeah, crazy stuff and acting weird. So
oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
that's what people see, and maybe that was their their parents or the household in which they were growing up, and they had irrational Christian parents that were Christians just traditionally, like they would say, oh, this is just they had no good case to make. They couldn't explain, oh yeah, actually these values are very important and they influence society in this way, and this is like a really good pattern to live by. No, probably they had just weird parents who couldn't make a good case for all these things and would just say you act this way, and they used the Bible to fulfill their selfish desires or whatever. So yeah, if you don't have enough Christians who, you know, if you can't point to the good Christians that live by the Bible, I think that's a big problem. And I think
Yeah.
somebody like Jordan Peterson would say, oh, maybe we as a country are, or as Western societies,
Mhm.
are deeply Christian without realizing it, but that's not enough. I think for people to
Yeah.
realize it, that's not enough. Um, yeah, yeah.
Something that's certainly been removed is striving for something better. It almost seems as if culture has gotten so complacent and so comfortable that they just figure that they need to be handed something. It's like, um, and I understand that there's a good bit of personal resentment that they have for that. It's, well, I have been a good person. I believe myself to be a good person. I believe myself to have, done whatever it takes, or I was handed a bad deck of cards at the start of my life, and therefore I deserve this, rather than I don't have it, I should go out and get it. We've certainly lost that element, and I to go off onto a slight side tangent, I
Mm.
think one of the reasons for that is the commodification of religion. And I mean, of course, you look at the 700 Club or Kenneth Copeland or Joel Osteen, it's like, why should anybody rational believe that?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's a complete and utter corruption of the system.
Mm.
But it also brings in some form of novelty that like that framework, like having all these disciplines and the culture and I guess mainly on moral grounds, but also behavioral grounds,
Ringo
which of course
Brody says convincing new atheists might be easier if you also propose a regulation that can somehow protect the religious narrative and keep it pure.
I think the only way to keep it pure is to constantly be exploring it. It seems like Judaism already has that in place. They're constantly going over the Talmud and other scriptures and trying to really figure out what the interpretation really means, and they constantly get into
The
arguments over
struggle with
the,
God.
and this also explains why there's so many different denominations within Christianity.
Oh, Gabriel says, I'm perplexed at Douglas Murray identifying as a atheist Christian. Yeah, is he doing that? I
I
didn't know, but
Well, it's the same as Adam Friended.
I think that's the like you are a non-believer, you don't believe in a god or whatever. But I think the Christian part is about like culturally I'm Christian, but I'm not what would be the other word? I'm not a believer.
Not subscribing to the superstitious aspects or that which would appear to be superstitious.
Mm. I mean, I understand it completely as like the way Jonathan Pajot you know makes it seem to be like these stories are you have to understand them in a symbolic way. And I think at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it's not about superstitious stuff. It's about like I said with the idea of okay, you self-sacrifice and you become one with God. And I view it as a way of transforming yourself. A way of okay, you sacrifice the idea of you being the as I said before, this idea of okay, this is my truth, this is who I am, and this is the way I look at the world, and the way I look at the world is the right way, and I'm justified in my feelings and my thoughts and in all the things that I want to do, and this is the most important thing. If you can sacrifice this idea of who you are and what you want, then there's a possibility of transforming yourself and be reborn in a sense. And I think
Mm.
this is the way you
Bored again.
yeah. This is the way you should look at these stories. And in that sense, they are true. And I think to some extent you have to believe. Yeah, maybe you have to believe. I don't know.
And I've said this in other streams. I don't know how many I've
Hmm.
said in yours, but I might even confuse voice chats with extremes as well, which is very possible. Um, you're going to end up being what we would consider a slave, or you're going to submit yourself to something.
Mm-hmm.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, that's
There's
what we
no
talked
way
about.
around.
Yeah, so if you don't, submit to the highest, like to God, you
Yeah,
will to one of your selfish desires because you will make that thing to be God.
and this is what I find brilliant about. I don't even know if it's considered theology, but the stories around Lucifer having been the brightest of angels and then fallen through arrogance,
Mm-hmm.
through like and resentment. And so, as an individual taking in that story, it's if you do not submit yourself to the highest possible good, you're going to end up being resentful towards it. And what's that going to do? That's going to bring destruction to the world.
Yeah. So I think when you would ask, oh, is there really like a devil in hell? I think you laid it out pretty well. There is not really like the place hell, and there's Lucifer, the guy who sits there, who is the devil, and
Yeah,
but it's like more like what happens with you. Like
yeah,
if you fall
yeah.
prey to your arrogant intellectual mind, what will happen is, you will fall, and you will start thinking that you are what should tell reality how it should be, and reality won't be like you want it to be, so you will start become resentful. So is that a good way to be? And I think the answer to that is no, because if you are like that, then you
E-
will fall into
yeah.
hell. So
Even even from a hedonistic perspective, having that resentment, that's not helping your life out at all. That's not giving you the best possible pleasure. So
hmm.
it's not.
Okay, so let's bring it back to ego death.
Hmm?
So we had these ideas of, okay, if you self-sacrificing, I think this is you you create an ego death by yourself. You decide this, what I'm thinking that I am, these things that I feel that I want, the way I look at the world, I lay that down. I give that up because
Mm-hmm.
there's a greater potential. There's something better outside of what I think is good. So I will bow down to something that is bigger than myself. I will sacrifice the self, and by that I create this ego death. Let's say I'm killing my own ego, basically. So I think that is. You ask, what is the proper way to get an ego death? I think that is the proper way. It's humility, it's self
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice, it's to bow down to something that is bigger than you.
And I think that there's also something going on behind what we would consider like there are bits in our subconscious that also want us to do that, as well as those bits that are fighting against it. I figure the bits
Ooh.
that are fighting against it are what you can consider the shadow. um
Oh, that's interesting. So now we are back at subpersonalities and how they want to bring you to an ego death, to transcend
mhm.
yourself, and to the ones that try to keep you there.
Why wouldn't it feel good after you do have a transition like that, like after self-sacrifice, and it's done properly? Why
The question is, what
I
feels
mean, it
good?
doesn't feel horrible. The the transformation, the being born again kind of
Yes.
experience. It feels good. And that might be because there are bits of your subpersonality that have been neglected that are saying, I mean,
Hmm.
even so deep as your conscience. saying you've been doing all this shit wrong and now you're finally willing to listen to me a little bit more. And then you get rewarded for it. So it's not as if these forms of self-sacrifice are arbitrary and it's just a dirge for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
And I think that's evolutionarily present.
I view it more
It's
like I I I
emergent.
get you, but I view it more like opening doors in the sense of when you don't view everything through, like, for example, simple example, expectations. Like, if you don't look at people around you and your life and think, oh man, I want to impose my will onto reality. Reality should be like this, and it is not. So I'm disappointed. I'm angry. So if let's say your version of how reality should be stops being more important than how reality actually is, then suddenly it
Yeah.
opens up doors to appreciate other people, to
Yep.
feel love and acceptance and stuff. So I don't see it as, oh, there's these parts in you that I don't know. I can't say it. I only can say how I perceive it, and it is if you let's say lay down your personality, if you put it down, the identity, your identification with this is my story, this is what I want, these are my expectations, these are the things that happen to me, and because these things happen to me, I'm now resentful, and I think other stuff now need to happen to me because, to make it good again. All this stuff, if you lay that down, you can start.
Deadwood.
Yes. You
Doesn't mean that all of your personality is bad. It just means that you're submitting all that shit
yeah,
that
you're
is
submitting.
closer to objectively wrong to be cast aside.
You let the mob inside of you submit to the greater God or the ideal or whatever. I wouldn't say ideal, but it's like all these subpersonalities, they can't fight for what's the word, supremacy anymore, because there is something on top. I think that is also a way how you could.
There's something on top that isn't just your ego.
Yeah.
Because normally that's where it ends up being, but then, elephant and rider, and you.
Yeah.
I tapped the elephant on the right side and it happened to turn right this time. I must be in charge. But all the three other times that it went left when I tapped it on the right, that was just that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know how much longer did you figure you wanted to go with this, because I could either wrap it up or I could just take a quick bathroom break.
I think that's a good time to wrap it up. Don't you think so too? I mean, yeah.
I feel like these streams keep going better and better, but I don't know if I'm delusional in that. I don't know. It's just because I'm becoming more comfortable that I feel like they're going better and better.
I think so too. I think they become better and better. I think it looks better too, if you look at the stream, how it looks. Like our both webcams next to each other. The picture of Adam giving the red pill to Sargon in the back. The EC frame. I think it doesn't look so bad. What do you think?
No,
it's not too bad, and it didn't crash.
My EC framing opinion. I still think that it should be toned down just a little bit more.
Even more darker.
Yeah, it stands out a good bit.
Yeah.
maybe if it could be made into a different kind of pattern or make that pattern incredibly intentional.
Hmm.
I mean, it already is, but, I don't know. But no, I'm really not that concerned with the optics because I figure the content that people really care about is the substance of the conversation.
Yeah, of course, but I think it has to. It it shouldn't look like crap, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So
No, yeah.
yeah.
Or sound like crap.
Oh yeah.
Because one of the first things that if I click on any kind of political or philosophical video and the audio and video look like crap, I think they aren't invested in the topic enough to even take care of that. I don't think I want to hear what they have to say about it.
Yeah. We just
So
got
yeah,
a big
that and the
compliment
quality certainly
by
matters.
Ringo Brody. This is a good stream. You guys are like Sargon. That's a little bit too much, but thank you. Taking complicated
Yeah.
concepts and trying to understand it as layman. Gabriel says, I've seen 3 of your streams, and of course, it's coming more and more together. Thank you, Gabriel. And it's nice to see you here and other people too. It's actually amazing.
Yeah.
It's
surprises the hell out of me
Yeah.
because who the hell am I?
I mean, I didn't
I'm
expect
just
it at all.
a dude with a top knot that Stanton wants me to cut off.
You look like a jobless samurai.
I'm a construction ninja.
Construction ninja. Okay.
I like having my hair long because I just
Yeah.
like that, but I also want it out of my freaking face while I'm trying to play guitar, so
I mean it,
or do things,
and it
so.
actually it looks fine. Because one thing, when I put my hair back, what is revealed are my, how do you call it? These hair loss, these corners.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting. In Germany, it's called Geheimratsecken. I think I already told this to you, but it basically means like secret society corners, or like the secret council corners. I don't know why. I should research this, but that's it. Okay. Otto Nonsense says, I'm new here. I like what I see came from Sitch and Adam's show. Yeah. Nice to have you here. Thank you very much. It's good to see you.
Utter nonsense leaves great super chats.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. We know you from super chats, right? You're like one of the.
Not only that, utter nonsense. Did you see my gur? Did you see my gur?
Male pattern baldness. Yeah, that's it. So the only thing I wanted to say is, I think you have that too. The secret council corners. But it actually looks good when you make your hair, the way you do. Okay. That's enough. Thank you very much, guys, for stepping by. And yeah, if there's like a topic you want us to talk about, or maybe something you can school us about, is that the right way to say it? Maybe you have something to say, and yeah, if it's a good topic, we can actually also say something about or contribute in any way. Then maybe we would just invite some of you. What do you say, Alex?
Oh, I'm down.
I'm down.
I think what would be a good idea is if we could go over the subject matter beforehand. That way,
course.
I will stop doing bunny trails as much. But then again, I don't know if we have the topic beforehand, and I'll think, okay, how many directions can this go? And then I'll store up all that in my mind. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe.
But I
don't know if my PC can handle another webcam, going through Discord and OBS and being streamed to YouTube, because we sometimes have problems just with both of us. But maybe at the least you guys have a topic you are interested in talking about. And
Oh, hell yeah, that'd be
yes.
great.
Okay. So yeah, have a good day, have a good night, whatever it is. And
Thank you for donating.
see you next time.
Oh, I forgot my harmonica.
Bye-bye.